Welcome to my kaleidoscope cane class. I hope you enjoy. Hello, Jam and Tarsi here. This is the fourth part in a series for my broken brain cane. In this part, we will make a kaleidoscope pendant using 6 slices of our triangle cane. I hope you enjoyed the class. We also cover sanding of the pendant, and you can watch my 3 pendant, 3 bail class to do an easy back. I've also included a link in my playlist for the broken brain cane. You can go there and see all 4 of these videos plus the 3 pendants, 3 bail. I will put the link in the description with all the other links for different products. If you see something that there's no link for, let me know. Hello, folks. Today's going to be a continuation of my last class using my broken brain cane. I want to show you how you can use it in different ways. We're going to make some rondelle beads, and I'm going to show you how to make them all the same exact size. These are not the same exact size. They're close enough, but if you really want to make each bead identical in weight and size, I'm going to show you that. Here is my triangle cane. I've cut 6 even slices on my Lucy slicer. I'm going to show you how to put those together and make a pendant. The small triangles that we cut from the cane when it was big, and we cut it into 4 separate triangles. Those are what I use to make these rondelle beads. And I will show you how I put them up. This is just a little bit of scrap left from my original blend. The little bits of black and white leftovers. Some scraps I had left, and I added a little bit more so that I have cores for my rondelle beads. These I don't know yet, the black and white. I may use them, I may not, but we will see. So let's get started. Now, some tools. You need to have cardstock. I usually have a whole piece, and I cut up a few. Oh, these are probably 3x4 or 2x3 pieces. Of course, the standard clay blade you'll need. You need some bead pins. These are from Creative. These are the thinnest, strongest, sharpest. Let's see if I can get that camera to go. Never seems to work. Anyway, these are the very thin steel pins. You can only get these at Creative. When you Okay, now we're ready to make our pendant front. I do everything in multiple steps usually. So this will be, we will put these together. I have a very thin sheet of black here that I will put it on after. We will then cut out a circle, and the things you need to form it on. This is an ice cream scoop I had from where I used to work. There's a, I don't know if that's a 2.5 inch Fat Daddy-O's bowl. My favorite curve is the light bulb. The light bulb, when I use the cutter, I usually use, let me get my cutter. Here's my normal cutter. It's 2 inches. This is actually a lid off of a little metal container. Very thin aluminum. And they used to sell these for wedding favors. They had a clear top and a little can bottom. And I bought a whole box of 30 of them just to have them for the cutter. Anyway, I really like the amount of curve I get with this for my easy backs. And you can see that in my 3 pendants video, how I make an easy back. So, we're working on cardstock. And I'm using cardstock. I don't want to deform my shapes, if I can help it. I need to decide what color I want in. And every other slice, I'm going to probably have to flip over so that I get a mirror image. And as I was slicing these, always keep, this was slice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Always keep your slices in order. These two slices are the most alike. So when I join this, starting at the top, and I carefully work, see the bottom of that brown there? I'm making sure that's lined up. Now this one's a little bowed in the middle, which is fine. But I'm working on cardstock. So that one's lined up. Clean patty paper here, just gently. I'm trying not to distort them, just attaching them. Start here with this one. And after a little practice, you will get to see, if they're too sticky to hold on to, use a piece of card to hold it. And see that part open, but if the middle's lined up, that'll come back together. I always start at the tip. All right, that's not lined up right there. I gotta adjust it a little. Okay, that's good. Okay, that's done. Now I'm gonna do my third one. I'm literally blind with this bright ring light. Someday, someone will come up with an easy light solution for making craft videos. I've tried them all. Now, these are touching. I'll try to get it together on this card. So lift one up. Now you can do this two ways. You can put 3 triangles together and have a half of a hexagon, or you can put 3 sets of 2. I usually work in 3 sets of 2. So now I'm going to put these 2 together. And if you have this card under there, don't have the card all the way up the edge, otherwise it lifts up that clay a little bit, and that's enough for a distortion. And these will be sanded. Okay, I think that's really good. I'm only gonna hit, I'm not hitting the middle, just from the center out to the edge, maybe. Just a light. Because I may need movement in here to get this one in. This is always tougher. I recommend you probably try it in half first. All right. I don't like that black right there. I guess it's on all 3 purples, but it's not lined up right. So maybe I'll start where that purple area is, because that black line's very obvious, and if it's not lined up perfect, you're going to be able to tell. And sometimes you have to stretch one, just a hair, to get them to match right. All right, so that one's in. Now I just got to get this one. It's way easier to do half and half, I'll tell you right now. Especially with this really sticky clay. When you have leach clay, these are like little Scrabble tiles. They're that firm. So now I'm going to use this card to get under here and loosen this up so that I can move it around a little bit. That purple area, the black line matches. Now I'm working out towards the end, making sure all the points line up. Get my card out. Now sometimes you have a space in the middle here, okay? So what you're gonna have to do, we're gonna get it on, this is a plastic mat. I don't wanna blind you with my glass. It should stick enough. So what we're gonna do is get it stuck down just gently. And I'm gonna get a piece of plastic deli wrap. If you don't have this, garbage or grocery store bags are the same material. And I'm just gently going down each line where they meet, pushing towards the center, just lightly. This is not a fast process. This is not just smash it together. Okay, just different something. Then I went down the lines. I'm also going to go down the center of each triangle towards the center, just gently pushing, closing that edge. Now you get to a point where it won't go anymore because there's tension sucking the clay to the plastic. So I'm going to release it. All right, it came apart a little bit, but I got it started. Now I'm going to try it on my cardstock. Starting at each side of the triangle, down the middle of the triangle, gentle nudge, not a smashing push, okay? Release that. Now I'm going to go down the seams. 3 seams. This is the other 3. You have to have that closed because when you put it on your dome, it's going to stretch it and you're going to open it back up. So I'm going to flip this over on my clean plastic because that's my good side. I'm going to peel my card off and then I'm going to do it from this side. In the center. Center, center, then down the seam. It's almost there. If you don't have a perfect center on a kaleidoscope, it just looks all out of whack. It really does. All right, so now I'm not using any plastic. I'm just doing baby taps like I did to close my beads. And don't push side to side. Just towards the center. Otherwise, you'll wiggle your pattern lines. Okay, now I'm going to try a quick burnish with my burnisher. Now, do not go in circles. You will just spin the pattern. You want to stay on the lines across from point to point. And from the edge of the triangle to the edge of the triangle. Let's see how that is. It's still not closed all the way. You probably not have that problem as much when you do a 3 and 3 because you can, I'll hold this up to the light real quick. Make sure I don't, yeah, I can see light through it. When you do 3 and 3 and put them together, you can take a second with your blade, the back side of your blade, and like that whole half there, straighten it up, okay? That's something you can do. Okay, I'm going to work a little bit more on this because I want to show you the rest of the process. But lifting it off the surface and resetting it down, that releases the tension so the clay moves. When you just keep doing it, it gets to a point where it can't stretch anymore. So just keep moving it. Sorry if you're hearing tree cutting noise. Hurricane Helene got a lot of small trees and branches all over the place. It's a mess outside. and it's still raining. All right, I think I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna nudge in side to side. Usually I'm working on glass for this because I don't want it to bunch up like that. In fact, I'm gonna come over here. I think that's still in the camera range. And work on that there for a second. When it's stuck to the glass, you can nudge it in and make your hexagon a true hexagon. That will help with your cutting. All right, so now I have this piece of very thin clay. This will get backed again. This piece is just insurance to hold it all together, and it's together because the clay is so soft and sticky. It's together, but I just want to make sure. I'm gonna stick it to my deli paper. Do that real quick. Get stuck to my deli paper. In the same way, slowly go down, burnishing as you go, not really pressure, just making sure I'm squeezing the air out. If I want, I can flip the whole thing over, rub it. I can burnish it, not in circles. I almost did it. Just one circle around can twist the surface of the clay and make your pattern swirl. Now I came apart here. That's not good. So I'm going to put it back together. Not good at all. That'll probably be cut away, but I'm going to do this one more time on the seams. Down the middle of the triangle, not on the seams, pushing towards the center. All right, I'm calling it. Nice light burnish, side to side, up and down, triangle to triangle, seam to seam. That's what we got. Now, if this is not perfectly centered, I can fix some of it. But my goal is to not distort it when I'm doing all these steps. This is a perfect circle. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at points here where it hits, and I'm looking in under the edge. Like on this green, I'm seeing those two grayish black dots right inside the edge of my cutter. So I'm going to turn it to the next one, and I should see the same thing, which I sort of do on that one. This one, it's a little farther out. So I'm going to pull it in that way just a little. That looks the same. This just needs to go just a little bit that way. Okay, so that's the same. I'm looking at the green and what is showing up in the green. Okay, those are all the same. Now, this purple area, the red's up behind that. I see two dots at the top of my ring that are equal, and I want to make sure they're equal there also. And those are, double check it again. So that's 2 points where it's perfect and in alignment. So now I'm going to cut my circle, twist my cutter, peel off my excess. Oh, it's just my cutter. I'm going to get this off here. Now, when I put this on this light bulb, I'm going to go around the circle. I don't want to stretch it one way or the other. Okay, so I got a perfect circle. I'm going to put it on this light bulb. Hold the light bulb up. Lay it on there first. Try not to, do not stretch it. Okay, it's on the top. You can see it's mostly on the top. I'm going to make sure it's a little better centered. Okay, we're going to start with this soft part of our hand. And we're just going to start molding it over the light bulb. Do not roll over this sharp edge. I really like that one. Just stretching it down, and you don't want to, you want to go in rotation and get to a point where you can tap it like this. Let the clay slowly stretch. Don't force it. It will stick to the light bulb, but it comes back up because there's tension in it still. So just keep working from the center out. Light taps, but do not go over that edge. You want that edge to stick, but you don't want to round the edge over and down. So just take your time. And roll it to the just to the edge. You have to tap with your whole hand. Alright, I'm got a little off, but light bulbs are pretty consistent as far as until they get down below here. So it's the same hemisphere shape. Alright. Now I'm going around the edge. See, it's still sticking up there. I hope the light bulb isn't. I gotta look at that one, see if that's just excess black clay. There's a little excess black clay there that looks like it's sticking up, and it's not. I could have trimmed that away, but it's stuck now. You can see there's no air gap around that light bulb. And that black there is not an air gap, it's actually black clay, but that's fine. It's going to get sanded anyway, sanded away. So there's my thing. I'm looking at the pattern. I'm making sure everything is equal. None of the lines got turned. Now, there's some dirt on this. So even just a light sanding will brighten up the whole thing after it's baked. And how I bake this, usually I have some cookie cutters that are taller. Where are they? But if you put it on a cookie cutter, let me get one here. You can use a foil, ball of foil that you make like a lamp base and crunch it around there. But let me find my right cutter here. Of course, it's not in there. But anyway, you need a cutter the size, that's too small. If you get a cutter that's the size of the light bulb, that one's too small. It will stand up in the cutter. I also have, you can wrap foil and like press it down, and I would do that beforehand. But you can also, if you take your tile, you get a tile here. If you're brave, you can bake it on a cookie cutter like that. Also, I would go a little larger. You just don't want it to roll off and hit the surface. Okay, you can bake it that way. And if you're worried about it sliding around, you can put it on a tile. Use a dot of your scrap clay to make sure your cutter doesn't slip around, and bake it just like that. It'll be fine. You're also not getting top heat or bottom heat that way. Alrighty, so I have earrings. I have the pendant. I have my rondelle beads. And these are all ready to go in the oven. And I'll get those in the oven. And when I get that going, I'm going to come back and we're going to do some sanding. On the square cane that I put together, I'm not doing anything with that. It's too sticky soft to cut, and it was a mess when I tried on my slicer. If you look at the numbers on the left column, that's micro mesh. If you look at the numbers that have the P in front of them, that's the standard American and European numbers. and you can see where they fall in line with each other. Micro mesh is comparable more to Auburnet, although regular wet dry sandpaper does just as well as either of the other two. Okay, this is a little bit about different types of sandpaper. This is regular automotive wet dry sandpaper. It's what I use the most. It's readily available and it's cheap. Okay, and I go from 220, 400, 600, 800, and 1,000. And if I'm going to buff something on my buffing machine and make it shiny, I'll probably do 1,500 and maybe 2,000. These are Auberlon and Aubernet. Aubernet is a mesh. The grit doesn't come off of it. It's like a plastic mesh, and it really works well. The only problem with it is getting it in sizes you need: 240, 320, 400, 600, 800, and 1,000. This is a set that I got from HarrimanDesigns.com, and that's HARRYMAN designs.com. You would probably have to messenger. I don't know if she has them still to sell. They're not on her website, but if you message her or email her, she will respond and tell you how much they are. Anyway, these are awesome. They last forever. They wash out easy. These are Auberlon. Same company makes them, but they're they're like this grit on sponge. And they really don't last that long. I end up using them for pads to hold these. When I'm sanding something curved, it's just easier on your hand. So I wouldn't buy those. They sent me these samples, and they're okay, but they're just not worth the money. They're expensive. I think they cost much more than these. But anyway, so those are going to put aside. I'm going to be sanding with this. Now, of these sandpapers, 220 grit is the coarsest. It's super coarse. Never use 220 grit on the surface. It's only for really bad edges. I wouldn't even use it on this. It takes too much off. But what I use it for is, if you see here, these two, this has been sanded flat to a sharp edge, okay? And this one's not. And when I put my clay on, and my backing, and I bring it right up to that edge, you need that flat edge to support the clay. It's just much nicer. So first thing we have to do is we have to sand this back edge. Now, there's that extra clay from earlier. I'll knock that off. So this is pretty nice. It's pretty even. It doesn't look distorted because I made sure that it touched all the way down, all the way around that light bulb. So, get some water on. I usually do this at my kitchen sink. And I'm going to put my towel up here. Get my towel on here so I don't get my whole world wet. Okay, so water on your table, water on the paper, and it kind of sticks to the table. Put it on there. Now, we're going to be sanding this, and you don't want to just do it one way. Oh, I forgot to show you something, too. It helps your hands. Let me dry this real good. But we're going to be, while that's drying for a second, when we sand this, we want to keep repositioning our fingers, because if you just hold them in the same place the whole time, you tend to squeeze it, and then you'll get sanded edges on this side, but not on this side. So you have to keep rotating it every once in a while as you're sanding, okay? Now, that should be dry. So, my tape trick. If you go back way on my Flickr pages, you can see I was doing this in about 2008 or 12 or something like that. I've been doing it forever. So you have Scotch tape. Pull out a piece. Put it on your top, because we're not sanding the top with this 220 grit. You make a loop. Okay, and then you put it on the rest of the piece. Now I cut that off. Need that much. And what this does is it gives you a tape handle. Something to hold on. And that, if you have, you know, problems holding it like this, I usually hold it just like this. And when you first start any grit, there's more grab because the clay doesn't match the smoothness of the grit. But having that tape handle on there can help. And if it gets too wet, it may come off, but it'll get you started. But same thing, keep turning the positions. This does not take that long. Okay, you just keep turning it and sanding it. And we will look at it now. You can start to see the color, but it doesn't have a sharp edge. There's still a slant back. You want a nice flat back and a crisp point edge. So we're probably halfway done. And if this is new sandpaper, there's more grab. But it lasts a long time. After you're done sanding, rinse your sandpaper off so you don't get dry clay grit into them. Okay, that's getting there. You can see much more color band. It's almost flat. That's not that much sanding. And the tape handle will keep you from burning your fingers on the sandpaper. Anyway, you get the idea for that. And I think it's there. It is sharp all the way around the edge. I'm going to give it a few more turns. Okay. Nice sharp edge. I can feel it all the way around the edge. It's flat on the back. I'm calling that one done. Take off my tape. I'm going to set this aside because I don't want that heavy grit in my water, if there is any. Okay. Now, at this point, you can have two choices. You can put your back on and then sand the front. Or you can sand the front, then put your back on, and then bake it, you know, with your back, with your easy back, and then you can, after you've sanded it all, it's good. Once you bake it, it gets a little dull. Just take the highest grit sandpaper and re-sand it just for a second. Now, there's a little ridge there because your clay slices, even on a machine, are never totally perfect. It's a little, but that should go down. But never do anything lower than 400 on the surface. Okay, so there's 400. And different sandpapers, like you'll see micro mesh. Micro mesh is a whole different numbering system. So 400 in American wet dry sandpaper might be 2400 in micro mesh. There are totally different numbering systems. Somewhere there is a comparison chart. And then European sandpaper is different than American. They have a different numbering system. But the P, if it's the P number, that's the American standard. P800. Now this 600 is by a company called Gator. It doesn't say P, but it's in between, definitely in between. I use it all the time. So we're gonna get our sandpaper wet, and everything has to be even. So there's 3 zones. There's a zone out here around the edge, a middle zone, and the top center. So I'm going to start at the top center. And this doesn't take very much, and this is kind of bendy, so it's easy to hold. And I'm not pushing hard. Don't hurt your hands. Just hold it light. Now I'm working out to that middle zone, and I'm just turning it. Okay. The 400 does most of the work on the surface. Any of those little bumps or ridges or stuff, you will feel those. This is what you do until you don't feel those. Now I'm out on the edge. Now when I'm at the edge, I go off the edge. Don't go over and down around the edge. Straight off. You don't want to ruin that nice sharp point. Okay, so that's 400. Now that wasn't that long. I'm almost done. Now, if I was going to be buffing this to a high shine, which I'm not, I would do a little more concentrating on that edge, because when you go to buff it, you tend to not sand out there as much. I don't know why. And it doesn't get as shiny, so pay attention to that if you're going to buff. Okay, this feels nice and smooth. That ridge is gone. No little bumps. So it's time for the next one, which is 600. That was like, what, a minute and a half? Okay, this, you can be a little faster. And always go in circles. Don't go back and forth with sandpaper. If you go back and forth, and any little big piece of grit in there from another sandpaper, it's going to make a scratch or a groove. I see people do this all the time, back, and they get actual lines on their clay surface. Always go in circle. Every pass of the circle makes scratches, which remove the scratches that were there before. Okay, that's the whole point of sandpaper. You're scratching away stuff that is rougher than the sandpaper, and eventually the sandpaper matches the surface of the clay, and you'll feel it. It gets real smooth and slippy and doesn't feel like you have any resistance. Okay, there's that. That feels really nice. Now I'm going to go to 800. Oops, sorry. Didn't mean to rock your world. I'm going to hold it this way for a while. You can do it this way too. Keep your hands flat and open. You can cup your fingers like this a little bit. You know, that's another way to do it. I prefer to do it this way. It's more comfortable for me, and I can spin it like a fidget spinner as I'm sanding. And this also, I mean, you probably can't tell on camera, not that the white was that dirty, but it really brightens all the color. Taking that, because all that touching, you're transferring all the colors on top of each other. And it's just a thin little film, but it makes a huge difference. Okay, so there's 800. Nice and smooth. Now I'm going to do 1,000. Rinse that off. I don't use soap. Soap makes it slippy, which seems like a good idea, but I want to feel the grab, because I know that when I stop feeling it grab, I'm done with that grit. And it's a fine little nuance that you have to get used to. Okay, so let's call this. I mean, that was not that much sanding. Now, after I put the back on and bake it again, and then do my easy back, I would take the 1,000 grit again and sand it. Now, I don't know if we can see this. Let me dry it first. Okay. Now, I'm going to get a stand up so I can see the camera. And we're going to look at this. I don't know if you can tell how dry it is. It's very matte looking. I don't think it's going to show. There's still a couple of little water spots. But it's super smooth. It feels like stone. And here's how much buffing it takes to make it to make it a low shine. I usually use a kitchen tea towel that's woven, but this will work. And what I'm doing is just buffing the surface, which in a way is like burnishing the clay while it's hard, and refining those little scratches into smoother versions of themselves. Now, I don't know. I have no reflections here to show you, but it's nice. It's just a nice, soft, matte, low sheen that it gets. And the more you rub it, the more heat you build up, the shinier it gets. Jumping ahead here, this is the back of my finished pendant. It's called an easy back. I cover this in parts 1 and 2 of my 3 pendant, 3 bale workshop that's available on my YouTube. I will put the link in the description. The whole point of an easy back is to allow you to switch your pendant between different chains and cords, even with lobster claws that will go through the hole. After my pendant came out of the oven, I did a little bit of sanding with my 1000 grit, which is what I ended before, just to refine it. I will now show you how easy buffing is. I just wanted to show you the nice shine you can get from hand buffing. You can see this one is basically what I would call done. It's nice and shiny. This is a woven tea towel that I use, just a standard tea towel. And just burnish till you build up some heat. Make sure you tip it so that you get all the edges equally, so you have an equal shine. And I keep spinning it as I go. But you can see the nice shine it builds up. Sorry for the background noise. I'm enjoying the day outside. But it really makes a nice finish, and it's all you need. You don't need resin or varnish, and it feels like stone. Thank you. And this is a glass-like shine from using a muslin cotton buffing machine. You can get this even with 1000 grit sanding being your highest level of sandpaper, but you can go farther, up to 2000 or higher if you desire. It just makes buffing much faster. Thanks again for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will have any tool products links in the description. Happy claying, and don't forget to like and share. And if possible, let the commercials run. It really helps my channel.